my last video, I was sharing with you how you can create different services for different client types in a letting agency. So many letting agents just focus on let only and fully management, which means they don't have upsells, side sells or downsells, which really means you have a very one-dimensional business. Now, if you want to really optimize your agency, the best way to do that is to create multiple levels of services so that people have more opportunities to buy at different stages in their landlording career. And so in the last video, we mapped out these 4 different services. If you haven't watched it yet, go and check it out because you won't know what I'm on about. But in this video, what I want to talk to you about is basically all these different client types: investors, fully managed landlords, let-only landlords and vendors, which are the 4 most common landlord types you will see in a letting agency, although there are over 12, but these are just the most common ones to keep things simple. And we've talked about these different services that we want to drive them to. The question was, how do we get them from point A, not knowing who we are, to point B, actually starting to sign up with our service? So what do we do? And there's different types of marketing we need to do for each types of these different avatars. Now, what I'm sharing with you here is not the only way, but it's what we found seems to be the best way. So if you want to attract investor landlords, clients that haven't bought property yet or want to buy more property, what we found here works really, really well and the best is some sort of live marketing. Now, when I mean live, what I'm talking about is things like Facebook Lives, podcasts, live videos, and you can go live over various different platforms using something called StreamYard. You can go on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, everywhere, all at the same time if you want to. But doing regular live seems to really work. Most successful people I've seen at this are literally live every day. So they're with a new property of the week, a new deal of the week, a new investment. Here's a property we just bought. This is the before and after photographs. This is how much money was made. This was what we bought it for. This was the return. These are sort of things that work really, really well for these client types. And that will certainly guarantee you start getting questions like, can you help me? And that's ultimately what you want to get people into your buy-to-let advisory service. All right, guys, you with me so far? So we're talking about the different ways to convert different people into different services going on down here. All right, now the next one, we're talking about fully managed landlords. Now, you know, as a letting agent, that's our bread and butter. That's what we've been working on for years. And up until now, you may have relied on void letters, leaflets, power hour, word of mouth, referral, recommendation, all that sort of different stuff. But actually what we found works really, really well to get literally a lot of landlords on your books, probably, you know, let's say 50 to 100 every single month by following this method. We found this really useful, is something we call downloads. Now, you may know these in the old days as ebooks. We don't use that word anymore, but downloads is really, really useful for data capture and to get people to really understand who you are, what you're about, and to respect you for your authority and knowledge, but also as well to open up conversations. Because what you do with these downloads is once someone's downloaded them, then of course you can follow them up with a call, or you can offer them the opportunity to book a scheduled call to speak with you. Now, what I love particularly about downloads is that you can be very, very specific. And I said in my last video, specificity is one of my favorite words. It absolutely is when it comes to marketing. The more specific you can be, the more choosy you can be with your landlord types. If you're talking to a landlord about what to do if your letting agent isn't communicating with you, guess what sort of landlords you're going to get? Landlords that aren't having their letting agent communicate with them. If you're talking to landlords about how to get the maximum optimized rent from your property, you're going to get landlords that probably think they're not getting enough for their rental property. You see where I'm going with this? So very specific downloads, all right? Very specific. So if you do very specific downloads, you promote those via your social media, you can drive those into your database, but also drive them into calls, scheduled calls being booked for you, but also you can then follow them up with phone calls, and you can follow them up with emails as well, but we'll talk about that more in the next video. All right, so we've covered 2 services. The next one is those lovely let-only landlords. All right, we all love let-only landlords and we all wish we could convert them to fully managed. Well, actually there's a few things you can do. One of the things that we find works the best out of all the marketing for let-only landlords, and it has to be because of the value of this particular type of marketing that makes it work really well, is something called webinars. Now, If you started shaking with fear when I said that word, I understand it. A lot of people are like, oh no, Sally, I'm petrified. But let me just reiterate, you don't have to speak on them. But webinars is the #1 way of generating landlord leads onto your database. It's the #1 way of converting let only to fully managed. We are not seeing anything better than that right now in the industry. A typical webinar, we're finding we're getting anything between 150 and 350 clients, landlords on every single webinar. From that, you should be generating 15 conversions approximately, all right? So it's about really making sure this is fine-tuned and honed in to get the right people onto that webinar. Ours usually about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Share really cool content, talk about all the legislation, compliance, the changes, all the different things they need to worry about, fines, prosecutions, banning orders, all those sort of different things that let-only landlords should be worried about because they're probably not doing everything as they should. And you will find some massive conversions into your rescue service or into your compliance check service. So really, really powerful way of converting let-only landlords into clients and then ultimately into fully managed landlords, which is what you want and what we 100% focus on. Okay, so there's 3 of the clients type. Now, hey, just in case, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to like this video because that will make sure that you get video number 3. All right, so the final point here is vendors. All right, so vendors. Now, of course, we want to get those to be listing with us and making us their primary people to be doing business with. And how do we do that? Well, okay, what we found is one of the best ways, and it's an old way. This isn't new, guys. I bet most of you already have this, is something called a valuation tool. You've all got valuation tools on your website, but the bit that most people are missing out is they're not promoting them. Start running some ads, start promoting them, start driving traffic to your valuation tools. Honestly, guys, you will see a massive, massive difference. I mean, literally, you can get 20 leads a day doing this just by running some ads, spending some money on it. But hey, don't just stop at vendors. What you can do is you can drive them to having your marketing uplift, getting your valuation, but also as well optimization services, loads of other services, financial services and things like that that you can offer to vendors as well. But we found out of all of them, having a valuation tool and really marketing and promoting it correctly and then dealing with follow-up can really create some really great numbers on listings for vendors. All right, guys, I hope you found this useful. So we've covered in this section all the 4 main avatar types for any letting agency. We've talked about just a few examples of different services. There's over 30 different services you could add to a letting agency. I've just salted a few here to give you an idea of some of the suggestions, and I've talked about a few different ways for marketing. Now, as I said, there's many, many more different ways to drive leads into these services, but these is just an example and a reflection on that. In the next video, I'm going to be sharing with you how you can nurture these. Once you've gone through that marketing process and through that funnel process and you've got them onto your database, I'm going to be talking about how you can nurture those into high value clients. So don't miss out video 3. I hope you've enjoyed it and I'll see you in a minute.